Where is baseball played? The United States.
Okay, what about Kobe Bryant going to get stem cell treatment? Stem cell treatment's stem cell. God, I suck today. Stem cell is illegal in the United States. Yet he went and got stem cell treatment overseas and then came back. Should he have been not allowed to play in basketball? Welcome back to Sports Talk with Dad. My name is Kyle, and as always, I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who was alive when Paul McCartney died in a car crash in 1964, my dad, Tim.
Paul McCartney did not die in a car crash. We've had this conversation. There is no such thing as Paul or whatever that is.
I've sent you the documentary. Paul McCartney really is dead.
Yeah, I've seen your conspiracy theorist documentary.
Sergeant Pepper's was a funeral for Paul McCartney. If you play the records backwards, it clearly says Paul is dead. The Queen covered it up. This goes all the way to the top.
You are beyond hope at sometimes. I mean, this one is out there farther than almost any of them that you've come up with. This is almost as bad.
I didn't come up with this.
Saying the moon landing never happened.
I never said the moon landing didn't happen. But no, maybe it didn't.
Well, Paul McCartney is alive and well. He's 104 years old, but he's still alive.
I'm not saying conspiracy theories are all right, but I do believe they are more fun.
Okay, no argument. There's only two that are actually true. JFK was not killed with one bullet.
And reptilian overlords exist.
No, and the other one is something happened in Roswell. We don't know what, but
it was the reptilian overlords coming to visit us.
Wow. Okay. Why don't we talk sports?
That's what we're here for. We have a great show for you here today. We are talking national championship because this guy over here nailed it. We are talking Masters and El Tigre coming back to grace us with his presence. And we are going to be talking about the greatest records in all of sports. And I know you have a rant going into that. Save it. I see the face. Hold on. We're going to get there. First and foremost, take your victory lap because even though we don't have the video, we do have the recording of you calling this. I obviously picked Duke Villanova. It didn't happen at all. You picked Kansas UNC, and Kansas comes back. You picked Kansas to win.
Hey, well done. I picked Kansas over Villanova. Big. I was right about that. Injury crushed Villanova. I picked North Carolina in a squeaker over Duke. Pretty much what happened.
Yep.
Kansas, however, I can't believe they were down 15 at halftime.
Right.
What an amazing first few minutes of the second half. I do think Armando Beckett going down really hurt North Carolina at the end.
I think so too. He got hurt against Duke.
He did.
And him not being in that game almost cost them. Duke really just missed a couple pivotal shots. Otherwise, we're talking a different story. Good for Kansas. 0 5-star recruits on that team. It's an older team, filled with juniors more than anything on that Kansas roster.
Bill Self is just an amazing coach.
He is.
And honestly, college basketball is all about the coach.
It is.
The NBA is all about the player, which I think is why Coach K never went to the NBA.
I think so too.
It's going to be tough first year or so to recover from these losses. I know he'll do it. But
my question is how do you walk away? Your last game at home was a loss to your arch rival North Carolina, and then North Carolina in the Final Four, your record-breaking Final Four appearance, knocks you out and ends your career. Like, I can understand walking away from losing to Villanova. I can understand walking away from losing to Kansas. I don't understand how you walk away from losing to North Carolina.
I think it comes down to maybe his wife looking at him and going, you are retiring, you're done, you promised, whatever the case may be.
I mean, it would be hard. He put a lot of energy into this last season. His players did. The other thing is, Jay Williams brought it up on ESPN, is they just lost their longtime assistant who went to Louisville, which just leaves John Shire, who's going to be the next head coach, all by himself, and a guy who was one of his main recruiters going to Louisville, who has all those recruits' phone numbers.
I will use it.
Very good reason in that sense, going, hello, why don't you come to Louisville?
Louisville's a very pretty city. We've got a great arena, blah, 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 blah. Coach K is still going to be very much attached to the program, just the same way
He's
Roy.
Not going to be the coach.
He's not, but he'll still be attached to it, just like Roy Williams is still attached to North Carolina. He's going to be there, but he's 75 years old. I hope he gets to enjoy it, and hopefully it'll be the next 20 or so years of his life.
Yeah. I mean, John Shire definitely has a lot of pressure, and I think Duke is in very good hands with John Shire being on that staff. But with what Hubert Davis just did in his first year as a North Carolina head coach,
it's a tough bar to reach.
I mean, John Shire's now coming in, and he better make it to the Final Four.
There is not going to be a lot of patience with Shire. No. I mean, he's got to come out of the box because you're replacing one of the four coaches on Mount Rushmore, whoever that would be. I mean, in my world, it's John Wooden.
Right.
It's Bobby Knight.
Yep.
Probably Dean Smith and Coach K.
I'd say that's a good list.
They're right up there. Of course, I would also put John Paulus, who used to coach at University of Wisconsin for a while.
Record does not allow him to be on that list.
I may have a personal bias there because
tennis coach, he definitely belongs on Mount Rushmore. As much as I love John Paulus as a basketball coach, his record isn't there.
His record wasn't there, and would things have been different had Bobby Knight accepted the job
at Wisconsin?
At Wisconsin,
it would have been a different world.
It really would have been. But in getting back to Coach K, phenomenal career, second only probably to John Wooden. But it was and when Wooden coached, it was a much different world.
It is. I could say that Coach K honestly had arguably a better career because he really had to adjust across eras. He lived in the same era that John Wooden had, where players played for 4 years, and you built your bench, you built your roster, and Coach K tried to stay there
for as long as he could.
As long as he could. Finally realized what he had to do. Went to the one and done era. Wasn't afraid to jump into that pool. And won some more national championships. And how hard is that to adjust as a coach who has been around for so long and to be like, okay, I'm gonna shift the way I do things here.
Yeah, because it's a whole mentality change. He prided himself on this graduation rate. And now you're going to guys who are going to be there for a couple semesters and then they're off to the NBA.
They may never even go to class.
Certainly not in the second semester.
Right.
Coach K, he also won a couple Olympic gold medals.
He did.
He was able to work with the NBA players like no other coach I've ever seen.
He did.
So I give him a lot of credit. He had a fabulous career. Would I have liked to have seen him go out into the sunset by winning? Sure.
Would have loved it. Would have been like one of your Hallmark Christmas movies.
What are you talking about? I don't watch.
Oh, yeah, the ones that are on TV. Every time I see you.
I love Christmas. Leave me alone. What was that? He asks. It was the best part of that whole game for me was just the last, as it always is in college basketball, was the last, 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
Yeah. Where
North Carolina had a chance to bring it. And just, if they would have made a couple shots, they were right there.
Would have been a different ending for sure, and a great start. Either way, it's a great start for Hubert Davis's career.
It is. Bill
Self earns his lifetime contract with Kansas.
Well, I think he already had that. Bill Self probably is not probably. He is the dean of coaches in the NCAA right now.
Right.
And probably the best coach in the NCAA right now.
It puts him definitely in that range. Congratulations, definitely to Kansas. Sorry, Coach K. If you want to come back for one more year, it'd be fun to see. But we need to get over to what does start today, which is the Masters.
I love the par 3 tournament.
Yes.
I just love it. There's nothing about the Masters I don't love. It's the start of spring. It's the start of golf season. as they say, it's a tradition unlike any other.
It is. I'm excited to get out there now. Hopefully, the snow finally stays off the ground.
You would hope so. You can see my clubs in the back right over here where they're sitting. I haven't had a chance to even begin to look at them yet. It's just Tiger's back.
Tiger's back. Tiger Woods is gracing the presence of us once again.
Explain one thing to me. How? After 14 short months.
Titanium is an amazing metal.
I heard his press conference yesterday, and the thing that amazed me, some guy who will remain nameless asked him, does it hurt? Do you play in pain?
I heard that.
And Tiger just had that smile and was like, yeah, it hurts.
All the time.
A lot. And he's going to be hurting all 4 days.
He is. That's going to be the hard part is he going to be able to walk? His back has knocked him out of tournaments.
Sure.
Where he hasn't been able to finish.
And Augusta is one of the hardest courses to walk. It's very hilly. You don't see that on TV, but the undulations at that course are very severe.
And that is your sophisticated word of the day.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm here to help.
Not a problem. But, tomorrow morning at 7:30 or whenever they start, you'll see Jack, you'll see Gary Player, and I think Tom Watson hitting the ceremonial first drive.
Yeah.
And then the Masters is off. And what are the odds on Tiger?
50-1.
That seems not high enough. But it is Tiger.
I'd put $100 on that. Why wouldn't you put $100 on Tiger Woods to win?
I think he's got a good chance to make the cut. I just have a hard time believing that he's going to be anywhere near the top.
Tiger doesn't play unless he thinks he can win.
Very true. And he's playing to win. Make no mistake. Tiger doesn't tee it up unless he thinks he's going to win.
Right. He's got at least one fresh leg ready to go.
Yes.
And a robot leg.
Yes. And he will figure. He's got the best physical therapists, the best doctors, the best trainers.
Right.
And the time to dedicate to training, which he did nonstop.
Yeah. I mean, the dude shouldn't have a leg.
No, he shouldn't. He almost lost it.
If that was you or me in the car accident, they'd just be like, yeah, we're taking your leg.
Right. They didn't. And it was discussed. And then somebody thankfully said, this is Tiger Woods.
Right.
We're not doing this.
No, if there is one leg to save, you save Tiger Woods' leg. And for anybody that says, well, that's not fair, well, life's not fair.
Right.
And if I'm that doctor, and if it's me walking in there, you know what? You don't necessarily need a leg. If it's Tiger Woods walking in there, nope, I'm not going to be the doctor that cuts off Tiger Woods' leg.
Exactly.
Not going to do it. Will not be that guy.
So if he wins, just the fact that he's playing, this is the greatest comeback since Ben Hogan's accident.
Yeah.
Way back when. And then Ben Hogan, who had to take ice baths just to walk,
right,
went on to win major championships.
I'm sure Tiger's doing the same thing. That's the only thing that's going to be interesting. Say he's in contention on Sunday, which would be, I'm not leaving the TV if he's in contention on Sunday.
Sunday or Sunday?
Sunday. Someday on a Sunday.
Okay, got it.
You just missed my point. Like, I'm not leaving the TV. It's going to be one of the greatest moments in sports history, especially if he wins. And here's the biggest thing is if he's in contention on Sunday, the Tiger effect sits in.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's what won him the last Masters. He had no business winning the last Masters. He won, but he just played the same, and everybody else choked. They heard the Tiger roar anytime he made a shot, and you saw on national television their faces drop. Mm-hmm. You saw them getting nervous. And I tell you what, if Tiger Woods is in contention Sunday morning, all the pressure is on everybody else.
Yes, because Tiger's been there. He knows how to play. He knows that course. Jack said it best. He knows that course like the back of his hand. Yeah. He knows exactly where he has to hit the greens.
Correct.
He knows exactly where they're going to put the flags on Sunday because they do it the same way. And he will find a way to hit the shots he has to. I'd give anything to see him in contention on Sunday.
People like Tiger Woods have a different mindset.
There's only one other person who's got that mindset. Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, no pun intended, but it is the eye of the tiger, right? It 100% is. You go into those Rocky films, it's that moment where it's like, you know what? It's time to get down to business. It doesn't matter what else is going on. I'm here, and I am nowhere else. And Tiger has that. And if he gets into contention, I think it's going to be hard Thursday, Friday. Saturday, he'll start to get into that swing.
Day.
But if he is in contention on Sunday, nothing else exists in that world to Tiger Woods, and he will walk away with that green jacket.
Well, and everybody knows the look on his face. That point when he makes a 20-foot putt, he walks at it and just shoots at it.
Yep.
Everything.
Tiger fist.
Tiger fist, yes. It's a look, like I said, the only other person I've ever seen have it is Jack Nicklaus, the other greatest player in golf. And take your pick. I mean, they are the two pinnacles of the game. I've been fortunate to see both of them.
Yeah. I mean, you saw in athletes too. Michael Jordan had that look. Kobe Bryant had that look. Tom Brady has that look. When it is time to go, you look at them and they don't see you.
No, it's a different mindset. But, you know, according to an ESPN idiot analyst, Tiger's not an athlete.
Yeah, that's just dumb. I mean, we don't need to talk about that. That's just a...
He hasn't run or he doesn't jump. Whatever.
That's just a stupid comment. And Tiger Woods is one of the greatest athletes of all time. He doesn't run and he doesn't jump because he didn't have to train that way.
Right. And I mean, what it must be like, he and Ted Williams, to have that kind of hand-eye coordination, to be able to adjust just a shot after the backswing. You feel something's not right, and you still have the wherewithal to make the shot.
Right.
It's just
Jack Nicholson's talked about his backswing. Jack Nicholson needs to play Jack Nicklaus in a movie.
No.
Because I need to at least have an excuse to mess this up.
You always mess that up.
I always do, and you always hit your head into the microphone, I guess. But it'll be exciting. I'm super excited for the Masters. Obviously, Saturday is the day you and I always go out golfing, so as long as the weather holds up, we're going to be out on a golf course in the morning, having our own little competition.
Well, let's hope, unless, of course, I've got a few golf clubs.
A few? Few?
I've got to get out of the house. We just got to go.
This dude, and I know we've talked about it on the show before, but you said this year you were going to be better. You said this year I'm not going to buy as many clubs. I did it because it was the pandemic. I did it because I was bored.
I'd be recovering from the drunk
blah,
driver.
I have nothing to do. I can't go golfing. This year you have more clubs than you did before.
I didn't think I did. I really didn't.
The basement and garage is filled with sets of golf clubs.
Not as many. Some have already gone.
Bro, we need to get you a girlfriend. This is...
Okay. Stop.
This is ridiculous.
No. Let's not go down that road. I'm fine.
But I do have to say one thing you did stick to. No jelly beans still.
I'm good on the jelly beans.
One empty carton of marshmallow eggs.
On a Sunday. It was my break day.
That's fair.
And I haven't had one since.
No jelly beans, though. That's
one.
Super impressive. Because if you brought them over here, I would have eaten them. So I'm happy that didn't...
Well, we had a good thing going because they were green and yellow
right.
were mine.
Hate those.
And then you filled in the rest. Yeah, and you're trying to keep in shape. I'm trying to make sure I don't gain any weight.
Right.
And so that's what we do.
And we're doing a good job despite what the camera, seems to show.
Camera adds 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So, by the way, if anybody does need golf clubs, feel free to reach out. I've got a few dozen. I need to get moved.
Few dozen. Yeah. At least 50 sets.
No, I don't think it's that
many. It is that many.
I don't think it's that many.
Anyways. You averaged, I think, this winter 2 sets of golf clubs a week.
What's next on Sports Talk with the Head?
You do have a special moment coming up here. First and foremost, before we get into it, thank you again for listening. And don't forget to do what it says right here, which is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. We really appreciate you tuning in. And this show just Because I'm Still Alive is brought to you by NyQuil, because it's the only way to get you sleep and DayQuil for the day to make sure you survive.
You were on death's door.
I was not a happy camper.
No.
I slept Sunday. I didn't wake up.
You had that big, deep radio voice.
Not as bad as my wife. I've never seen her that sick in my entire life. I'm glad she's doing well. I just needed to get some sleep.
You know what? I have not been sick since the January of 2020. Yeah, knock on wood. And I hope I never do. I don't know what it is, but I've been doing great, and I'm going to keep it that way. But it's almost baseball season.
It is almost baseball season. What do you think? A new advancement in baseball is the pitch comm. So baseball is moving forward in technology yet again, where to stop sign stealing, the catchers have a thing on their wrist where they can push buttons, which will tell the pitcher in their ear and 3 other position players what the pitch is and what the location it's supposed to be in. Radio signals are obviously going to be very well blocked and protected. I am in love with this idea. It sounds like Major League Baseball as a whole is in love with this idea. All right, baseball purist.
No, I'm good with it.
Really?
Yeah, I actually am. Well, I miss seeing the catcher. I mean, I was catcher, so I love seeing them give the signs.
You love watching catchers.
I love them seeing the signs, seeing whether the pitcher is reacting to it. However, after the Houston cheating scandal, they've been doing this in football for years.
Right.
You've got to do something to try to prevent it. You know, you had to, again, the Astros, just like the Belichicks, you want to try to take cheating out of the game.
You are not letting up on Belichick at all.
So why not do this? This will be a great way. Catcher's going to have it, pitcher will have it, and then probably the shortstop, first baseman, and center fielder will have it.
Yeah, and I've heard comments saying, well, it could break. Yeah, the catcher can make a move, it could break, but then you just go back to the signs.
Yeah.
No big deal.
It's not a big deal. These things are so inexpensive now. They're not going to have to be a big expense for any team to do it. The Rays will adopt it, and it'll be brilliant because they have one of the best front offices in all of sports.
They do.
And playing one of the
They deserve a lot better than what they have.
Oh, my God. The dumpiest, worst stadium, other than Oakland, probably in the entire world of sports. But it's going to be, I think it'll be fun to watch because the catcher will get. Now, the interesting thing is who's going to be triggering that? Because if the catcher should be calling the game, if they're getting these signs from the manager, shame on them. Be a catcher, be a man, call your own freaking game. And I assume they're just going to touch this.
Yeah, it looks like an old Xbox controller, basically, where you have the buttons on there, and they're going to be well trained on it. The catchers will still call their games. It's on the catcher's wrist. How can a manager even call it? Because the catcher needs to know, and the catcher doesn't get an earpiece. So how is the catcher not going to call the game? Because then they're not going to know what pitch is coming.
Well, unless the manager has a controller and he's sending it in, and I don't want to see that.
I don't think that will happen. Honestly, if you have a catcher that's not good enough to call his own games at the major league level, then you probably need to get a different catcher.
I got in this fight with my coach in college all the time. He wanted to call the game. Look over to me before the pitch. Since when are you on the field?
Right.
I've got the game in front of me. I know what's going on.
Right.
Well, I'll call it. I know what to call. Yeah, so do I.
Can you imagine Wilson Contreras or a Yadier Molina if their manager says, I want to call the game?
I don't know if they'd laugh or hit him.
Right. It'll be interesting. I really want to see some of the old guard get into it. I'd love to see a Yadier Molina start using it to see what he thinks about it, because obviously he's been around.
Some teams won't do it. Some teams won't do it.
It's just a couple teams right now. And it all depends on the catcher, which I love because baseball's never done that before. It's not a forced thing. It's here's the technology.
Use it if you want.
As you please. It's here for you. And it's baseball taking a step in the right direction.
Hopefully it'll speed up the game.
It should. With the pitch clock and that.
It's got to. It can't not do it.
Right. And you're going to have your shortstop. You're going to have your first baseman. You have your center fielder for positioning. They're going to be able to hear it as well, which is also better for them.
However, baseball still needs to look at the long-term good of the game and stop doing these short-term deals that are only benefiting the owners and aren't benefiting the long-term growth of the game at all.
We need to relook at revenue sharing as a whole, right? That needs to be stipulated where a majority of that has to go to player spending to win.
They need to make it a national game again.
They do. And again, they need to look at our plan because our plan makes it a national game.
The Carney plan needs to be implemented all throughout baseball because not just because we did it, but because it's brilliant.
And because we did it.
I mean,
it is brilliant. It makes it a national game. It makes the interest in it. Again, I love the start of the advancement of baseball, and hopefully it's a continuance that moves forward where they're going to have more technology. And this is
that what continuance means?
Listen, I fumbled. I'm allowed to fumble on this show. It's what I do. It's part of why I'm here is to talk weird.
And make me look good.
And
Thank
make you look good. That's what I'm here for.
Go.
That's what I'm here for. But baseball's starting to move forward with technology, which is great. Hopefully this leads to a balls and strikes where those are called an electronic
absolutely not.
I can't talk. Yes,
no.
It needs to happen. There's nothing wrong with the umpire having something in his ear and getting assistance for the balls and strikes because it's not consistent.
It comes down to the training of the umpire so that they have a better concept of the strike zone and they become consistent. Put the emphasis where it belongs on the umpires to do a better job. That not everybody is Angel Hernandez. Thank you. Not everybody is that. Most umpires have a set strike zone and the pitcher knows it, the hitters know it, and the game goes on. Keep the technology out of that part of the game.
You shouldn't have to study the umpire if it can be helped to know where the strike zone is going to be.
Yes, at some point the human element still has to be involved in the game.
It is in the game. You're not taking the umpires away from the back of the plate. Make it consistent.
You are taking them away from the back of the plate. They might as well stand on the side. Yeah, they're still standing there. Might as well have them stand over there and go, hey, let me know when I can come in. No, they need to call.
Then they're less of the show because I'm tired of umpires trying to take over the game. And
I'm not arguing. I can't disagree with that. Umpires need to be there and be unnoticed.
Right.
But they also need to be the ones calling the balls and strike. They're engaged, just like the catcher. He's engaged. They're the ones that are the captains of the team. They're the ones that usually are the smartest of the team. And the umpires are there to call the game. And I like the fact that umpires at times have a different strike zone. Some's a little higher, some's a little lower. But if you're consistent, nobody complains.
Correct. And too many times it's not consistent. And I've seen it too many times, especially in the postseason. Maybe it's just something you put in the postseason.
No.
But what I don't understand is you can experiment with this in the regular season.
Well, go ahead and do it down in the 8-league or in the independent leagues.
You don't need to do it in the independent leagues. You can do it in Major League Baseball.
No.
You can have certain games and say, hey, what does this look like in a real game situation? You don't even have to tell anybody. You can just do it behind the scenes without making it a big deal. Nobody will know. And you just test it and see what it looks like.
And now that you've got me wound up,
we might as well go into it. We are going to go into the greatest records in sports history. Obviously, our opinion, which makes it right. But I know before that, you have a rant to go on when it comes to records in baseball. Sir, the show is yours.
Okay. Number one, I still think baseball is the greatest sport ever invented. 90 feet between the bases, 60 feet, 6 inches between the mound and home plate. And the best part about baseball was always the conversations I'd have with the older generation about the players they saw compared to the players I was watching. Was Johnny Bench better than Yogi Berra? Babe Ruth versus Hank Aaron. And you could always have the conversation and discuss how the game had changed, but how the records were. The most iconic record in all of sports was the Baseball Hall of Home Run record. It was held by Babe Ruth till 1974 when Hank Aaron had to suffer through some of the most vile racism ever known to break the record. He got to 755. And then fast forward a couple decades and a cheater comes along. And the cheater comes along and takes that record away because he had enough chemicals in his body to be preserved for the next 100 years. He's probably more preserved than Keith Richards. The all-time home run record remains at 755. Hank Aaron achieved it. Bonds stole it, and that record should not. Baseball needs to go and put the asterisks on it or take it away. The best thing that ever happened was when the cheater's home run ball was retrieved and the guy bought it. He put giant asterisks on it before it went to the Hall of Fame, and that's a sign that the record should remain 755, and the single season record for that matter is 61. Roger Maris's hair was falling out. It was a battle between Maris and Mantle up until Mantle got hurt. We don't know how. He might have fallen off a bar stool. We don't know, but he got hurt. Maris stuck in there till the last day and got to 61. That is the most iconic record for a single season there was. Everybody talked about it. Everybody was engaged. By the cheater doing what he did, it took away from Ken Griffey Jr. It took away from the accomplishments of guys like Jim Thome, who should have been celebrated, and it made 755 nothing more than just an afterthought. People don't view it the same way anymore. It takes away the conversation. Was Aaron better than the cheater? I love the article in ESPN put out that took a look at what the cheater's record would have been had he not juiced. And his home run total would have been about 537. And that's honestly where he should be. And they should roll that, I almost said a bad word, they should roll that record back to that point and put Hank Aaron back where he belongs. And to show how Hank Aaron felt about it, when he was recording at the request, because he was such good friends with Bud Selig, he recorded a message to be played after the cheater got to 756, kind of. And the guy doing the recording and the reporters that were there said, "Can we do it again, Mr. Aaron? Can you smile maybe a little?" And Hank looked at him and said, "Exactly what do I have to smile about?" That says it all. He didn't even think that the record had been broken. It hadn't been. If Griffey never gets hurt by making one of the most spectacular plays of all time, maybe he would have gotten there, and then that would have been a celebration. But not now. 755 remains the greatest record in all of sports. Nobody has touched it. And that's the end of the rant for today.
You sure you got it all over your system?
I'm still angry about it, but I'm done.
The record is 760.
No, it's not. No, it's not. 755 is the record, and I want people in their comments, please, to agree with me that it's 755. You don't give it to people who cheat.
Listen, I'm with you. I think the record's 755 as well. I hate that it's been tarnished, but at the same time, I don't want to see... I hate what's happening in baseball right now, where a whole generation is basically just being left out of the Hall of Fame. It's an era in baseball that I grew up with, the era that made me a fan. We've talked about on the show before. I loved going to Wrigley Field and watching Sammy Sosa hitting those home runs when he was racing with Mark McGwire. There's nothing better than turning on TV and seeing what happened next. You always turn on the highlights to see who did what at that point. And I don't want to see just baseball look at that and say, you know what? Thanks for what you did, but you don't belong here. I don't think that's fair.
They don't.
They allowed it to happen at that time. It's part of the game. I agree. I think the record should be rolled back to 755. I think the record should be rolled back to 61. I'm on the same page with you. But all those players still belong in the Hall of Fame. They're the greatest players of their time.
In a separate room that smells like manure.
If that's how you want to do it, it doesn't change the fact that happened in baseball, and that is my generation of baseball.
I don't care. The cheater does not deserve a plaque anywhere near Henry Aaron, Babe Ruth, on and on and on.
Let's be honest. His attitude has definitely affected his legacy more so. I'd say in the same way that I look at Ryan Braun, I look at I look at Ryan Braun worse than I look at Barry Bonds, because Barry Bonds cheated, but
he didn't try to destroy somebody else's life.
To destroy somebody else's life.
I hope Milwaukee never, ever retires his number, because he doesn't deserve it. I heard, and I've been very open with people about the fact how I feel about Ryan Braun, and Milwaukee fans get very angry with me when I say what I do about Braun. Oh, he blah, 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 blah. He's done so much good. He's our guy. And then in the next breath, they complain about Bonds. Well, you can't do that. If you're going to complain about Bonds, you're going to have to say, yeah, Braun, maybe even worse in a lot of ways than the main cheater.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same. It comes from any of them. I do believe that these players do belong in the Hall of Fame. They are a big part of baseball. It was a whole decade, and you're just trying to erase it. And you can't. You need to learn from your past, accept your past for what it was, say these are the players that were there. If you want a separate room that smells like manure, fine. I don't care. But they still belong in the Hall of Fame. They were still the greatest players of their time.
Yeah, and they cheated to get there. No. And you and I have talked about it.
We're keeping Roger Clemens out of the Hall of Fame.
Okay. With one exception, Roger Clemens is a bit different, because as you and I have discussed many times, if we were accused of cheating, what would we do? We'd scream, we'd shout, we'd go to court.
Right.
He did, and he was found not guilty. Everybody's saying, well, the needle's this, the needle's that, and it's a matter of belief at that point. People don't get to be better pitchers after 40, and Clemens did. Do I think he cheated? Yes.
But can you call it cheating, though? He juiced. He most likely used steroids, but you can't cheat if that's not the rules. That's like playing the game of Clue, and somebody shows the card as it's passing by.
It's illegal in the country. It's illegal in the country.
I know, but at the same time, let me hear me out. I mean, imagine playing Clue, right? And somebody shows you that card, accidentally or not, you saw it, and now you know that's not the answer, right? And so you mark it. Using steroids in a time where it's not illegal to use in the sport, it's not cheating at that point.
If it's illegal in the country, it's by definition illegal in the sport.
That's not true.
It is too.
It's not true. We have players from all over the world and did it that time as well. It was illegal to use the United States.
Where is baseball played? The United States.
Okay, what about Kobe Bryant going and get stem cell treatment? Stem cell treatment's stem cell. God, I suck today. Stem cell is illegal in the United States. Yet he went and got stem cell treatment overseas and then came back. Should he have been not allowed to play in basketball?
No, because stem cell treatment is recognized. Now you've got me doing it.
You're welcome.
Is recognized by the FDA. It's an experimental form.
Steroids are recognized by the FDA. Steroids have done a lot of good things for people. It's just when they're abused is when they're a problem.
And it was abused. Look,
it was abused, but at the same time, again, steroids are not illegal in every single country. They're not illegal in Mexico, and they're not illegal in a lot of other countries.
Okay, if Bonds went to Mexico to get the treatment, fine, but we know he did it in California.
I understand what you're saying, but to me, it's no different. It wasn't banned by the sport at that time. These players did what they knew they could do to get an edge.
The only one of all these players that I am giving any kind of leeway to is McGwire, and you and I have talked about it. He had the worst PR people of all time.
I mean, I'm not giving him leeway. He's the reason that this became the mess that it did.
Well, he started taking in the needle with Canseco. Canseco, who started all of it, and a big part of it, was also the guy who exposed it. So he's a double-sided coin. But what McGwire had in his locker, he should have just looked at Congress and went, yeah, I had that. I didn't realize. I took it because it was recommended. You can buy it at GNC. It helped me recover. I don't want kids doing steroids. This just helped me recover from my workouts.
And it's done.
And it's done. You don't say, well, I'm not talking about the past. Yes, address the past. Talk about everybody saw it. He goes, look, if he would have just said, look, if I would have thought it was such a problem, do you think I would have had it in my locker so everyone could see it?
Correct.
And then you move on. So he's the only one. But the guys like Palmeiro, I've never juiced and get busted.
2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, that was.
Yeah, I mean, the Congress thing was a joke to begin with. But, I mean, all those players weren't prepared. Major
Sosa
League
goes
Baseball.
in.
That's one thing. I mean, C-League left those guys out to dry.
Sosa goes in there.
He can't speak English anymore.
Even though he's done thousands of interviews that were perfectly legible.
Thick accent, but I always understood him.
As did I.
I don't blame him, though.
Okay.
I mean, it's
you and I can have this debate, and we will talk about it afterwards. Please put your comments in.
762 is the all-time home run
755 is a home run
record. Back, but it's there. You have a lot of other records on here.
Here's one that'll never be touched. Back-to-back no-hitters by Johnny Vandermeer.
Nobody's going to do that.
Nobody's even
allowed in a game long enough to complete a no-hitter, period.
Thank you, Craig Counsell. Another one, Joe DiMaggio, 56-game hitting streak. The only people that have gotten close were Rose when he got to 44, Molitor when he got to 39. That's probably never going to be touched just because of the media storm that was around them.
Yeah, I mean, it comes into pressure, obviously, at that point. It'll be tough to do. I could see it done. I mean, I could see an Ichiro Suzuki-type player coming up and having a streak. I know he had a streak of consecutive games.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be hard to do.
Another one that'll never be touched in baseball, 7 no-hitters by Nolan Ryan.
No.
As you said.
Nobody's allowed to pitch one.
Exactly. Thank you, Craig Counsell. 2 of my favorite records, one in baseball, one in football. 26-32 for Cal Ripken and 299 for Brett Favre.
Yeah. I don't think the Cal Ripken one will ever be broken.
I would be surprised if it is. Favre's would have been broken by Eli Manning, I think.
He would have. Had Eli not been benched for no reason, he would have broken the record handily. And I think that it was a record that seemed impossible for a long time, especially when Favre did it. This is never going to be broken. Nobody's ever going to touch it. But as the rules change more and more, quarterbacks are more and more protected.
He did it in a day where there was still a lot of hitting. Mick Tingelhoff had the record before him. One of my favorite names in sports.
That may be one of my favorite names now, too. What was it?
Mick Tingelhoff, Minnesota Vikings.
Tingelhoff.
Tingelhoff. I have his autograph, actually. I got it when I was a kid.
Tingelhoff.
Tingelhoff. It's a good Irish name.
Tingelhoff.
Yes. Here's another one that won't be broken of Brett Favre's. 305 career interceptions.
It will not. There will always be men like Tingelhoff to make sure it doesn't happen. But no, I mean, there's no patience in the league for a quarterback to sit 2 years, let alone for the patience to have a quarterback to throw that many interceptions.
Right. Here's another one. I think this would have been broken had Ichiro played his whole career in the major leagues. Pete Rose, 42-56.
Yeah, technically, Ichiro does own the record. If you include Japanese ball, if you include professional baseball career,
that's
Ichiro holds the record.
No, it's like saying in the minor league records count in the major leagues. Can't do it. Sorry. I mean, and that's not to say they don't play a good brand of baseball in Japan. It's just not the major leagues.
I'm with you. There's only a reason so many Japanese players come over into the major leagues. A lot of them, you can't compete at that level. I agree with you. I'm also with you. I do think if Ichiro had played his whole career in the United States,
he would have gotten there.
He would have gotten there easily.
He's just that kind of talent. I mean, it's amazing what he could do with
hand-eye coordination.
Yes. Yeah. He knew that he could adjust mid-flight. I don't know how he did it. Here's one that's one of my favorites. The all-time NCAA basketball scoring record, 36-67, 44.2 points per game, held by Pistol Pete. That'll never be touched.
No, it surprises me he held it because you look at the players that did play 4 years. You had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played 4 years.
Well, only 3 because back when Kareem came up, freshmen couldn't play on the varsity. So he only had 3 years.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But there are a lot of guys.
But still, even in 3 years, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doesn't touch it. You have
Oscar Robertson.
Oscar Robinson didn't touch that record. You have, I am thinking of him. He played for the Houston Rockets. Hakeem Olajuwon didn't break that record. Patrick Ewing played 4 years at Georgetown and didn't touch that record.
Michael Jordan, none of the greats who played in college.
Now, it'll never be touched. You'll never have a player play that long that'll be able to touch that record, because any player that's putting up those type of numbers is going to his multi-million-dollar contract.
And remember, Maravich did this in the time before three-pointers.
That's what surprises me, is that none of these other, because really until the 90s, people played 4 years in college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have players like, look at Christian Laettner, didn't even touch that record, didn't even come close.
No, nobody's come close to this record.
44.2 points per game. I mean, that seems impossible.
Somebody went back.
Best of players.
And somebody went back and took a look at all of his games and figured out if he would have had a three-point line, he would have been averaging over 53 points a game.
That's crazy.
He was a magician. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Here's one of my favorites. 9.58 seconds for the 100-meter. Who's that held by?
Usain Bolt. The one and only. One of my favorite athletes to watch.
One of the greatest names in all sports.
It was magic. I mean, he was absolute magic, what he could do. I always watched him and thought I was watching Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, where the legs spin round and round. You didn't see his legs stop. It was a blur. I mean, the dude was just a blur with the most high-definition cameras that were around at that time. You couldn't see that dude's legs because he was moving so fast. The fact that he didn't walk away with holes in his shoes because he was going so fast amazes me.
He's almost like Tiger and Jack in that he knew he was the best.
Right.
Everybody else knew he was the best. Right. And he got in their heads because they knew they couldn't touch him.
Yeah, and watching him before races, after races, obviously, always came across as a very nice guy, which also makes you like Usain Bolt a lot more. It'll be broken. It will be broken.
That is just so it's almost like the 4-minute mile.
Right. People literally thought people would spontaneously combust.
Correct. Yeah.
They got under 4 minutes, and now that's just to make the Olympic team, you got to do under a 4-minute mile.
Right. And will somebody break the 9-second 100-meter? Maybe. There is humans are always evolving, right? True.
I mean, our arms are longer than they used to be. Athletes now are doing things that they've never done before. The way humans are today, no. But as humans become more and more athletic, the training gets better. I do think that that's possible.
We'll find out.
It'll be interesting. It's going to take a very special person. Usain Bolt's obviously a very special human being that was put in the right situation, had the right work ethic. Yeah. And to find that combination in somebody is hard to do. I mean, there may be somebody out there that can break that record now, but doesn't have the work ethic to put into it or anything else. I mean, I had athletes even in my high school that I thought were going to be D1 athletes, but just didn't put the work in. So it's hard to find that, and Usain Bolt is definitely that guy, and it's going to be a tough record to beat.
So here are a couple of others just to finish up the show. Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points.
Never going to be touched.
Never think it's going to be touched. Richard Petty, 200 NASCAR wins.
Couldn't even begin to tell you if it'll be touched. I don't even know. I didn't even know if somebody had 200 NASCAR wins until you put this on this list.
Yeah, Richard Petty back. I watched him when I was a kid. I'm not a big NASCAR fan, but
the only NASCAR race I ever watched was the NASCAR race that Dale Earnhardt got in the accident where he passed away.
Well, that would end my watching of it, too.
After that happened, I said, clearly I am not allowed to watch NASCAR races at this point. I'm done.
Okay. And the other one I've got on here that I think is a great record that'll never be broken. Rocky Marciano's heavyweight 49 consecutive wins.
Yeah, I mean, it has been broken.
No, it hasn't been broken.
Floyd Mayweather has the record.
If for a junior class weight, and he never got hit, and he fought exhibitions against MMA fighters. Yeah,
Don't forget YouTubers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He fought YouTubers. Real boxing, heavyweight boxing, Rocky Marciano. Was he greater than Ali? I would have loved to have seen that fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of good boxers back in the day. You wonder, Mike Tyson, could he have gotten there if he didn't have his...
He had issues.
His issues.
He had a lot of issues.
He's working on them now, though.
Yeah, I regret it.
He's one guy I would love to hang out with. Not back in the day.
Wow.
But today, I would love to hang out with Mike Tyson.
Okay, I'll pass on that one.
No, I won't. I think it'd be... You're going to come away with so many stories.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's the greatest bar story of all time. Yeah, I got to hang out with Mike Tyson. Everybody stops.
Okay.
Mike Tyson is famous in ways maybe even Tiger Woods dreams of being famous.
But would you have survived the night with Mike Tyson?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'd have the story.
I mean,
like the scar, man. It's not where the scar came from. It's the story that is behind the scar.
I have one question, and only one I want to ask him. Why did you bite the guy's ear off?
He'll punch you in the face for asking that question.
And I'd be dead before I hit the floor.
Probably. He's coming back. He's getting back in boxing shape. But Tyson
He's 104 years old.
No. He's not that old. He's in his 50s.
Well, yeah. Are you really going to box in your 50s?
I mean, if the money's right. As Mike Tyson famously said, I'd fight a tiger if the money was right.
I'll bite somebody's ear off if the money's right. Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't he?
No.
I mean, you had Ali, you had Holyfield, you had Frazier,
you had Foreman,
Jack Dempsey. Jack Dempsey is one I would have loved to seen fight a lot of the heavyweights. Jack Dempsey, I did a report on him when I was in school. I had no idea who he was. He's just somebody I drew out of a hat. And
I remember that
with the report. What a great fighter!
It was a different kind of fighting back then.
Oh, that's not a guy I would want to run into and be on his bad side. I mean, if he's on my side, great. If he's not on my side, we don't even need to talk. Like, I can move across the world if you want me to.
But
good.
So please, if you've got records that you think will never be broken, or ones that you disagree with the ones that are on my list, please enter it into the comments.
Let him know that 762 is the all-time record.
755 is
and
good.
That steroid-era baseball players still belong in the Hall of Fame.
Do not belong in the Hall of Fame?
100%
No, they don't.
Decade of baseball.
They need to be left out.
They did something that was not against the rules in baseball.
It was against the law.
So is stem cell research, yet athletes are leaving the country to go and get that done.
His head grew.
It did.
He does not belong in the Hall of Fame.
Listen, Barry Bonds continued steroids after the...
The cheater does not belong in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
755 is the record. Hank Aaron.
Fair enough, but you tell us what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to do me this favor, which is like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we drop a video, and you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it. Any last words before we head out?
We've got some great interviews coming up.
We
on
do.
Sports Talk with Dad, and I think you're going to enjoy them. But for now, let's enjoy Masters Week.
Yes, you will start seeing us drop videos every Tuesday and Friday going forward. I promise we will not miss any more. Now that I can talk, now that I don't have the flag, life will be good going forward, and every Tuesday and Friday you will see a video from us. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad.
Bye, everybody.